Hello, welcome back to OG Reflection. This is my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on the channel, then welcome. As I said, I am an English teacher, a writer, and a content creator, and on this channel I like to be productive and share some of my experience and knowledge with the world. Today I'm going to be reading one of my stories from A Thousand Thoughts Like Thunder. If this is your first time on the channel, then you'll find a link up here for other stories that I have read. A Thousand Thoughts, as we said, is a book of fiction that has a collection of short stories that are meant to be vague and confusing and encourage you to think. Okay, they're open-ended usually, and they encourage you to think about what it really means. Okay, we've read 5 stories before, and today we're going to be reading another story, story number 6. Bismillah. Okay, the name of this story is Living the Dreams. Okay, let me go to page 52. And as always, after it, you can share your comments and ideas and thoughts about what you understood and your opinion in the comment section down below. Okay, so let's start living the dream. They looked at me, waiting for me to speak. They have always asked me what it was like that day I woke. And so I tell them that it was a Friday night that I woke up from the deepest and longest nightmare I could recall. I panted, as if I had been running a race, as if I hadn't taken any breaths before, and I coughed, as if I had been infected with some terrible cold. I was thirsty and felt that I hadn't had a drop of water in years. And so I put my hands on my head, covering my face, whilst shaking and trembling with fear. As I did so, I realized that my hands were attached to endless medical equipment. A hospital, it must be. It was a small room. In it was a bed on which I lay, a window from which I could see that it was dark outside, and some equipment to my right. Beep, beep. The equipment had started making all these noises, indicating, as I presumed, that I had just woken up. Moments later, nurses rushed in, a panic of both shock and joy written over their faces. Yet my ears were too preoccupied to hear what they were saying to me, for my mind was slave to my thoughts once again. I must leave, I said vocally, and then returned to my thoughts again. And that's when I got glimpses of the visions I had seen in my nightmares. In my nightmare again, I have seen things, terrible things, I muttered to myself. Just a bad dream, I'm sure they would all say. But was it really just a dream, as they all claimed? I shut my eyes and tried to gather my thoughts again, trying to remember who or where I was before it all happened. The last thing I remember was that I was on my way to work. I was running late, and I had been driving fast, faster than normal, and then... Yes, I'm sure they would all ask me. And then it just happened, I'd say. I don't remember the details regarding the crash. All I remember was that I was alive and driving, and then, well, they would all ask me, and then I wasn't this or that, I continued. Instead, I was transferred into this other world, the land of the neither dead nor alive. But why? They continued asking, echoing throughout the room and in my head. I heard the question for sure, but why answer? Would they truly understand? Would they understand that your conscience isn't at rest when you've done something bad? Would they comprehend that comas are just like sleeping? You feel that months and years pass, and you wake up to find that only mere hours have passed. Confusion. That's what I saw written over their faces. Would they understand that I was in this pitch black place just walking endlessly? I just couldn't stop walking. Would they understand that I kept walking for what seemed years without any purpose and without stopping? I noticed their faces turn white. I'm sure they'd ask how I felt. I had been expecting the question and had prepared the answer. And so I explode with the truth. My soul was being tortured slowly. I felt as if I was breathing through a straw, as if I had been drowning. I could hear voices of people whispering and talking to me, yet saw no one. I kept calling for any of them to hear me and help save me from that pitch black place. Yet no one could, and no one did. I yelled for anyone to save me. But no one was there. I was stuck in that dream, endlessly roaming a dark street. My own conscience was mocking me by giving me false hope. Hope of ever finding anyone at the end of the street, or of ever hearing an answer from the people whose voices I could hear. Many moments of silence resulted, and as they all took in what I had said, I looked at the bruises on my hands. If only, I think to myself, yes, if only I wasn't wrong that day. I would have seen other visions, happy sights, instead in the dream world. I took a breath and continued. I did something terrible to someone that day, and thus I was put in the endless nightmare. But what did you do? They'd ask, driven insane by curiosity. I looked at them, not wanting to speak. Should I tell them, or should I not? What does it matter what I did? It was wrong yesterday and will remain wrong today. What matters is that I should not speak of it anymore. What I did that day will remain a secret. The man I wronged and I share. A mystery that people will only guess at. A riddle that will never be solved. And I sure hope that I've paid for it. The end. Okay, excellent. Good. So this was the story of Living the Dream. First of all, Living the Dream as a title, doesn't that give like a positive connotation, right? Living the dream, because when you say living the dream, that means someone's enjoying their life, or they're living in a good way, or they're happy in their life. So living the dream, is it literal? Is it being sarcastic? Obviously it could be metaphorical as well. So what do you think? That's number one. What else? He said, I think the story is quite clear. Could be clear, could be vague, depending on how you understand it, but simultaneously clearer and more vague at the same time. He said he was in a coma, and that he woke up from this dream or this coma, just like when you go to bed and years could pass in your dream, but then you wake up and it's only been 5 minutes. Okay, and the same thing, because he went to bed and on that day he had done something bad. So he was in a car crash, right, apparently, and he found himself apparently transported into another world, his subconscious, right? He was in a coma, and because he did something bad that day, so that's why he had a bad dream. So speaking of dreams, if I have a bad dream, does that mean I'm a bad person? If I have a good dream, does that mean I'm a good person? Or do dreams mean nothing? Speaking of dreams again, do dreams come from a higher power? Do you get dreams? Do you often get dreams also that are related to things that are going to happen in the future, like sort of in a premonition or a premonitive way? What else? Or are dreams based on my own subconscious? And if I get bad dreams and my subconscious, is my subconscious trying to tell me something? And if my subconscious is trying to tell me something, then doesn't that mean that my subconscious deep down is good, right? What do you think? What's your relationship with dreams? And have you ever been in a dream that was so long like that? Have you ever experienced a dream that was so vivid and so clear and so realistic? Food for thought, eh? And my final question is, what do you think is the bad thing that he did? Because obviously he felt guilty, and that's why he experienced this traumatic coma, or traumatic experience in general. So what do you think is the bad thing that he did? And that's it. So this is the story of Living the Dream, and that's us for today. Thank you very, very much. Please, if you like this story, give us a like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out the rest of my videos here. So that's us. Good. Thank you very much.